The Philadelphia Eagles beat the Tennessee Titans 35-10 today in the city of brotherly love. It was the revenge game that A.J. Brown wanted. It was not the bounce-back performance the Tennessee Titans wanted in the NFC. Welcome to Titans Talk Back, presented by Lee Company on 104.5 The Zone, taking your phone calls until 6:30 this afternoon with lots to react to. Along with Kevin Dyson, I'm Will Boling, and Dr. Dyson, that could have gone a whole lot better.
Well, let's start here. The injuries, the people in and out the lineup is starting to rear its ugly head a little bit. Fatigue is kicking in. We're at that point in the season where you're coming to that wall and it's hard to get over it. And health is a key component of getting over that hump and being able to overcome some of the injuries that the Titans have had so far. And then Burks going out early after a big catch. And just it seems the injuries starting to pile up a little on the team. And after this 2-year run of overcoming those circumstances seemingly with ease, it seems like it's catching up to them a little bit. But this National Football League, you got to continue to have that next man up mentality, so that's no excuse. I'm just making an observation there. You know, the Eagles dominated up front. The game was lost up front, both sides of the equation. They got after the quarterback. They protected their own. Hurts seemed like he can do what he wanted to back there. A little bit of pressure, he was able to get out of the pocket and throw the ball away. He had a big day today. There's one key stat, and I'm going to stop talking because I know people want to talk more about the game than I probably should, but there's a couple key stats. 6 sacks today given up, only 87 yards, net yards rushing today. Again, Derrick Henry not a part of the offense. 0 for 2 in the red zone. That's 0 for 5 in the last 2 weeks in the red zone for a team that had been so efficient in the red zone. There is a part of the game that has to be cleaned up right there. They got to figure out how to get back into that favorable possession in the red zone. The last 5 trips have yielded no touchdowns. Other than that, you know, Philly was getting penalty after penalty, giving Titans chances, especially in the first half. Couldn't capitalize on it. And this is my final thought before we go to the phones and things is similar to Buffalo, similar to KC, similar to Cincinnati in some respects, but those other two specifically where they were considered the upper echelon within those conferences, and you get to see where you're at. It doesn't bode well for confidence sake going into the playoffs to say if we had to line up against one of the elite teams, if we'll call them right now, how will we match up? Now, health aside, being healthy, everybody healthy, I like the matchups a lot better than trying to piece together a roster, which they seem to be going on right now.
Sure. In the last 4 games, Derrick Henry has 75 carries for 208 yards.
Ooh.
Going back to a win against the Denver Broncos. That's 2.7 yards per carry and 1 rushing touchdown in that time.
1 rushing touchdown in 4 games. Is that since Houston, I'm assuming, then?
That's since Denver.
Since Denver.
Because
okay.
He had 219 against Houston and 115 against Kansas City.
Okay.
Yeah. 615-737-1045. We know many of you wanting to react to this one. We will get to as many of your phone calls as we can over the next 2.5 hours until 6:30 when Sunday Night Football coverage begins here on The Zone. 615-737-1045. And we begin with Eric in Nashville. Good afternoon, Eric.
Hey, guys. I unfortunately didn't see the whole game due to the fact that I was going, went to church, went out to lunch. So by the time I got home, it was midway through the third quarter. But from what I saw and what I understood of the game, it wasn't pretty good. I mean, you had the 6 sacks offensive line gave up. You also had Derrick Henry, again, not being able to run the ball. Defensively, you know, what can you say? We just, you know, Philadelphia, hey, they worked us with what Jalen Hurts did, A.J. Brown, both receivers, over 100 yards. Receiving, I mean, I just think part of his injuries and beat up, but also I think like I said, we put way too much pressure on the defense to continue to bail us out. And I think a little bit of it's catching up us with injuries and being on the field so much because you can't continually count on your defense to do it when your offense is not moving the ball and not able to score. Maybe getting some of the players getting the back will help, but it's just frustrating. And I also saw the point in the game where in the second half, I think it was the last series before Tannehill went out, we only had 2 yards of total offense, and we had minus 9 yards rushing. I mean, you're not going to beat teams when you're able to do that. I mean, it's just frustrating to see, especially against good quality football teams. We just not do anything, and it just does give you hope with even if you are able to win the division and make the playoffs, because we still got some quality teams left to play, and you still got teams like, for instance, the Chargers and the Cowboys, and you just want to see some sort of better effort or just able to do something to where it would give you hope, but it just doesn't appear right now there's much hope, guys. I'll get off and let you get some other callers. Y'all take care, and we'll talk again soon.
Appreciate the call.
Yeah, appreciate the call. Yeah, it's hard. I think we all recognize that Derrick Henry needs to get going. I mean, the stats were so revealing that you just shared, man. I didn't even know it was that bad and dire straits. You know, I knew has been rough, but I said it about a month ago. Me and you talked about it, and I said it about a month ago about the blueprint for this team seems to be they cover up the linemen, make you go one-on-one to block it, and leaving somebody free. Somebody's coming through free, whether it be a safety coming from back a little bit deep, scot-free, linebacker filling gaps. It's hard for Derrick to get going because he's having to make contact without having a guy engage with another guy. So in this league, those guys are going to win a lot of those battles. I'm sorry. He's got the ball in his hand. It's easy for them to come full speed and attack. And so, you know, I don't know what the answer is to be able to get him going. I saw some different things as far as letting him release into the passing game, and I think that's going to help eventually because if he can become more of a viable threat in the passing game, and then now you don't necessarily have that in your head that when he's in, it's a run play or play action, which equates to being a passing play too. So, you know, I think he has to be, as we saw last week in the screen and things of that nature, and they tried it again today, and it didn't necessarily work out. There's got to be some kind of formula to try to get him going because, as we've seen these last 2 weeks, you talk about 208 yards, 2.7 per carry of a guy who's a home run hitter. I know that's got to be not necessarily eating him up to the point where he's going to affect his play, but in order for this team to be effective offensively, he has to be a major piece of it.
It's problematic that Ryan Tannehill led you in rushing today.
On three carries.
3 carries for 34 yards for Ryan Tannehill today. Good to see the ankle feeling better enough for him to get moving a little bit. But Derrick Henry, 11 carries for 30 in this game. The Titans rushed 21 times for 87 yards, the longest, a 17-yard Ryan Tannehill run that really makes that number look a whole lot better than it really was. 615-737-1045. We got a Buffalo in Gallatin up next on the phone line. Say Buffalo.
Hey, good afternoon. The Titans played exactly equal to where they're at. I mean, they did a 75%. They're at a 75% year, just like the Packers. The Packers are pushing about 40%. The Bears are pushing 30%. They beat the Bears. I mean, it all equals out. I mean, all these teams are lower than Philadelphia. Philadelphia is, I hate to say it, they're a dang fantastic team, apparently. They may actually go to the Super Bowl. Hey, I enjoy it. Good luck.
Yeah.
Tighten up.
Thank you, Buffalo.
Yeah, you know, I mean, there's something to say about that. They ran up against an elite team, a team that's hitting on all cylinders. I've said it on numerous occasions. It's hard to be up for all 17 games, to be at your optimum, right?
Yeah, it is.
They had a down game there, and they still almost won it against the Commanders. They still almost pulled it off, even though they were having one of those down games. Well, this is a team that has a very good defense. And one thing you said earlier, the Titans' defense has been so good, we're just waiting on offense to kind of catch up and fill that gap to help them out. Is there some fatigue on the defense side of the ball because they're being on the field? They were on the field for 33 minutes again today.
Right.
And so I think it was like 35, 36 minutes last week, something to that effect. So that's a lot of time on the field. So all that to say, sometimes you just run up to a guy and you say, you tilt your hat, man, you were better than me today. And today the Eagles were.
They certainly were, and they can win multiple kinds of games. That's the thing that impresses me the most about Philadelphia. The Titans have to win the slugfest games.
Yeah.
Titans aren't good enough to give up 21 points in the first half and come back and win.
No.
And put that much pressure on themselves on defense. And it was the same issue again for the Titans defensively. They're giving up the explosive plays.
Yeah.
And it hurts that much more when it's the guy that used to be playing for you in A.J. Brown having a revenge game against you that ultimately makes the difference. I mean, the catches he was making today, we've seen him make for years in a Titans uniform since 2019.
I mean, the back-to-back moment there, the tiptoeing around the sideline, and you show his explosiveness, that didn't count. And then to come back the very next play and rip it around a guy's backside and catch it.
Christian Fulton.
Yeah. I'm thinking about the second one. Yeah, you're right.
Right.
Yeah,
Well,
the first touchdown was the double move. The guy gets in his way and he just runs through him and catches it without being nobody in the area. And then the second touchdown catches around the guy's back. I mean, he just shows his ability. But, that aside, I knew there was going to be those comparisons today with him and Traylon Burks, and unfortunately, he went out after the one great catch he had. I don't know. He looked like he was completely out when he got hit and he came down and still held on to that ball, man. I hope he's doing well. Hope he's fine.
Yeah.
Man, thinking about you, brother. And but that was a heck of a catch in the end zone.
Goodness.
And that's back-to-back weeks where we're seeing the capabilities of this man and his strength going up to win those 50-50 balls. And his confidence is starting to shine, man. And that's only going to hopefully help this offense going down the line.
Titans Talk Back is presented by Lee Company. Lee Company, all you need. Visit them online at leecompany.com, and you can join us on the phone lines at 615-737-1045. Up next, it's Phil in Portland weighing in on today's loss. Say, Phil.
Well, thanks for taking my call, guys. I love your show. I appreciate it. You're probably the inspiration to all of us walking around with our heads down. But you know what? Let me say this. I'm probably not going to be a popular call. So if John Robinson is listening, hey, the old folks used to say, "You made your bed, now lay in it." I blame you for AJ, and I hope you see now what you lost in your decision making. That was a poor mistake. It was probably one of the worst mistakes in Titan history, letting him go. And I think that Philadelphia exposed us for exactly who we are. I'll hang up and listen, and y'all have a blessed day. Merry Christmas.
Thank you, Phil.
That decision and again, I think I get why people feel that. You got a guy who's still well in his prime of his career.
Yep.
But I'm gonna use the but right here just for a second. He has had some injury, especially late on that last year or two that kept him out a lot of playing time. But when healthy, he goes the other side of that. The other but when healthy, today, like we saw, he's so explosive. He's one of the best receivers in the game, and it's hard to give up a top-notch receiver. But even having played receiver in this league, we come a dime a dozen, so you can be productive and do it through multiple guys. But there are different guys that are special, and AJ seems to be that guy. I mean, he's a perennial 1,000-yard receiver, Pro Bowl type guy. He's explosive. He run after catch. We've seen him big plays downfield. It is a special talent, and the jury's still out on Traylon just because he hasn't had the body of work just yet because he's been in and out due to injuries, which that's a whole nother conversation with the Titans, all the injuries and guys in and out. But he's showing some ability, and I think if people are looking at him for what he is, I think the future is bright for that kid as long as they continue to develop him, give him opportunities like today. He went up and got it. Last week, same thing. Continue to move him around, get him opportunities to make plays after the catch. I think he's going to be something that eventually you might not ever forget A.J. Brown, but he'll make it hard for you to remember him.
615-737-1045 is the number today if you want to join us. And Jacob in White House is up next. Hey, Jacob.
Hey, guys. I love the show. I listen to it every week. I usually don't call, but after this game, I really, had to get something off my chest here. I mean, John Robinson, it's very obvious that he messed up with the A.J. Brown thing. But my thing is, this was like a terrible game for J-Rob altogether. The O-line depth is very bad with Dennis Daly on the left side. And also the cornerback depth. I mean, Trey Every did everything that he could today, but obviously, A.J. Brown is just, he's a top wide receiver. So J-Rob, I feel like, isn't going to be sleeping great after that game. So I'll just hang up and listen, guys.
Thanks, Jacob. Appreciate the call.
There had to be a moment, maybe not now, maybe it was today, a moment where he was like, man, it would sure not be nice to have AJ, or maybe we could have worked it out. Of course, that's human nature, right? You second guess your decision sometimes, and you hope for it to work out. But I don't think in the moment you second guess yourself. I don't think you can, because if you operate like that, then you're never going to be successful. You have to stand by your decisions and feel confident in those decisions. And sometimes they're not necessarily the right decision or the best decision. But as a leader, as a person who's running that franchise, he has to stand by it and feel confident that that's the best thing for the team in that moment. Now, we can, as fans and people outside looking in, look at what A.J. Brown has done this year with a quarterback that before the year started, we would have said wasn't on the same level as Tannehill,
right?
Who now, what's the conversation? Is he better
He's
than
an
Tannehill?
MVP candidate.
Exactly. I think he's a front runner for MVP in my opinion.
Too.
So now what? And so we were thinking, he's going there. He's got a guy who's not really a perennial starter, still developing. And now look at him. He's going to be a 1,000-yard receiver with the developing quarterback who's still on his rookie contract. So, who knows? You just never know how this thing is going to pan out. And I don't know the injury situation is because they tell you bits and pieces of what a player's going through. They give you on the injury report. But there's probably a lot more to that decision than we all recognize. But from an outsider's point of view, us looking outside, looking in, like, man, it'd be hard to give up that guy.
A.J. Brown's long-term health and availability will kind of change this conversation long-term for me.
Mm-hmm.
Because A.J. Brown was not traded because he doesn't show up in big moments like he did today. He always shows up in big moments if he's available.
Right.
And the Titans overcorrected and, in my opinion, got so frustrated by the injury issues that they had last season that I think they overcorrected a little bit to try to cut the dead wood, so to speak, of guys who are consistently unavailable.
Yeah. That's pretty perceptive. I would agree with that.
And whether or not the Titans made the mistake of trading A.J. Brown, right now it certainly looks like a mistake. I think that decision will be decided in Sharpie instead of pencil in probably 2 years.
Yeah.
But here's what we know tangibly right now. The succession plan after A.J. Brown at wide receiver for the Titans hasn't been good enough.
Yeah.
Despite the health issues of Treylon Burks, the turf toe, today the concussion, he can't do anything about that. That's a hit that I think was ejectable by the safety for Philadelphia, and I'm usually on the other side and never want to eject anyone for that hit. If there was ever a time to, that was one. But you can't only have 3 active wide receivers up for this game after your number one target gets hurt. The Titans don't have enough options at that position right now. So whether or not the A.J. Brown fiasco was a success or a failure for John Robinson, we'll decide that for sure in probably a year or two. But right now, I think we can decide that the plan at that position just hasn't been good enough after A.J. Brown left.
Yeah, I appreciate you saying that. And I tend to agree, especially in this day and age. And I know we've kind of been in it, and I hate to say it, old school football, and that's the trend, right? The run first, got this big back, a guy who's kind of timeless, if you will. He's an old school back, just burling down, running, breaking through tackles. But in this day and age, the way the game is called and the way people are putting the ball in the air, you got to have some guys that can go out there and catch. And get open, get separation. And I'm not talking guys that just go in line outside the numbers, one-on-one on the edges all day long. You see guys being moved around. I've said it before, like Cooper Kupp, he is one of the best receivers in the league for a reason. He doesn't just line up on the numbers one-on-one ever, really. Every now and then he's out there and he gets a one-on-one battle, but they move him around. They put him in position to be favorable to meet his skill set, and that is why he has found success. It's not that he's just so much phenomenally better than any other athlete out there. They have built the scheme and built confidence enough in the offense to maneuver him around to say, okay, we're going to move him, motion him, 2 guys going to break this way, he's coming underneath, whatever it may be for him to find success. And that's why I find like you need to get 2 or 3 guys you're confident in and try to find ways to develop. And if Treylon's your guy, how are you creating opportunities for him to be successful other than just throwing up the one-on-ones on the outside the numbers? Now, today he was in the slot. I think he was a number 3 receiver, had a guy one-on-one, safety shook to our left, their right, and he threw the ball over top, and he went up and got it, and that was just a heck of a football play. And the safety came in and hit him and knocked him out. But that was a heck of a football play. But moving him around, I think, is going to help. And I think also spreading the field a little bit more.
Yeah.
I think condensing it with, I don't know, wasn't paying that much attention, but there seemed to be, again, the last several weeks, a lot of double 3 tight end sets, maybe tight end and got an H-back flexed or whatever you want to call it. And is condensing the field even more. It's putting everything between the hashes instead of spreading it out across the field. And the hashing is everybody's in that box. Everybody. So how is Derrick Henry? Now, granted, if he busts through there's nobody else to stop him because it's a home run.
Right.
But everybody's right there. So my mindset is spread them out, get everybody out of there. Now let's create running lanes for them. But again, that's a philosophy shift for the Titans.
A big one. Absolutely. 615-737-1045, the number today on Titans Talkback, presented by League Company. League Company, all you need online at leaguecompany.com. We go to KD up next in Nashville on the phone lines. Hey, KD.
Hey, man. What's up, y'all? How y'all doing?
What's going on, man?
Hey, look, y'all. People want to blame Tannehill. People want to blame the O-line. People want to blame the coaches, the defense, all of that. But like everybody been saying, it's only J-Rob's fault, honestly. Like today, after, let's say in the fourth quarter with 3 minutes left, I flipped on a Jets game. I saw Corey Davis convert a 4th down to 10. I'm like, wow. Like, just stuff like that, man. It's just like players even though they're not the best players there, they get the job done and we just let them go.
Mm-hmm.
I don't understand. But, yeah, that's all, y'all. That's all I got to say.
Yeah.
Appreciate it, KD.
Yeah, they had one of the pay receiver for whatever reason in the last few years. But Corey, that one, I thought they were going to resign him. I thought him and AJ complemented each other very well. And then when they let him go, my mindset went to, okay, they don't want to pay 2 different receivers, so they're going to pay AJ.
Right.
And then they let him go. They traded him. And so then it was like, okay, so now what's the plan?
Right.
Then you got Robert Woods off a knee injury, probably wholesale prices, right? So you probably not get him for what he would have gotten had he not been coming off an injury. And then you drafted Treylon Burks. So, and then Woods is probably starting to get his feet under him a little bit. Maybe they're still trying to figure him out in his offense. He really hasn't been a focal point or anything you had to really game plan for or against. And Treylon's starting to come around, but then he's knocked out again today. So I don't know where that goes from here.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, the main thing is how do we get Derrick Henry going? Because all that doesn't matter if he is still stagnant in quicksand.
Exactly.
Because if he's not going, the rest of you guys it's not going to matter. Now, we can start throwing the ball 50, 60 times a game, but that's not going to happen. We all know that's not variable in variables makeup. So unless he gets going, these guys are going to have to make most of 4 or 5 attempts a game and try to make plays when they come, or it's going to be rough these last 5 games of the season.
615-737-1045. A.J. Brown today had 8 catches for 119 and 2 touchdowns. Titans wide receivers today, 4 catches, 41 yards, 1 touchdown. He doubled them up in all 3 categories.
Wow.
615-737-1045. We go to Donnie.
When you put it like that.
Yeah, it's pretty simple, right?
Yeah.
It's not great. Donnie in Murfreesboro up next. Hey, Donnie.
Hey, guys. How are you?
Good. How you doing, man?
Listen, we need to get down to the brass tacks. We're not one of the best teams around. All our stats we put up against teams like us or worse than we are. And that's where the problem is. Derrick Henry, we can talk about getting Derrick Henry going. Derrick Henry is not the problem. Our offensive line is the problem.
Yeah.
But what we should have done is last fall when Derrick was hurt, we had Hilliard and Foreman. Both of those guys gave us the same yardage that Derrick gives us. Both of those guys are better pass catchers than Derrick. We should have traded Derrick and kept A.J. It's just, I know a lot of people think it's heresy about getting rid of Derrick, but we should have done it, and we should do it this fall if we can get some people back there to do what Hilliard and Foreman did. That's all I got.
Yep.
Thanks, Donnie.
You know, it's hard to get Derrick Henry going when literally every time, especially on first down, and if it's a pro set or 3 tight end set or whatever kind of look they were giving, it was 8 guys at minimum within 5-6 yards of the line of scrimmage.
And corners and safeties that are diving down and making plays. I mean, last week it was Mike Hilton. This week it's Darius Slay.
Yes.
Coming down and helping out.
It's hard to get him going
Yep.
that way. Now, that's saying the offensive line because there was times they had a 4-man rush and they had 5 down linemen and the running back to protect Tannehill, and it didn't. And they just looked like a high school offensive line at that time. Like, I was like, dang, these dudes that much better than you? And there was a couple of those. And that's where you watch the film as a player, like, dang, I just got my ass whooped. That's the kind of film you look at. You know what I'm saying? You like, oh, that didn't work out very well. But on the run game, because we all agree. I mean, I know if I say getting Derrick Henry going, yes, it starts up front. It's not just him. He can't just out. We've seen it. He can't beat up all 11 guys on the field. He's not running through all that. So the offensive line and everybody else has to get better. But how do you get better? Help them. Put them in favorable positions. Get people out the box. Get people away. Put them in space. Help everybody out. And I think that's my argument is it's hard to be successful, even for an offensive line that is struggling when everybody's right there.
Robert Woods today was targeted 5 times and had 1 catch for 6 yards. Nick Westbrook-Akine targeted twice, 1 catch for 4. Traylon Burks has the 25-yard touchdown catch, which was a terrific one. C.J. Board has 1 catch for 6 late on in this game, and Okonkwo essentially became your best wide receiver once Traylon Burks got hurt and had 4 catches for 68. The lone bright spot for me in this entire game for the Titans.
Him and Hooper keep developing, man.
They
pass
are.
catchers. I know Hooper don't have special numbers, but he had a nice one-on-one win to the out. He continues to make good catches, not dropping the football. Him and Okonkwo, man, are becoming viable targets. But, again, is that you want to build your offense around? I don't know. I mean, I'm not saying that's not a good idea because Okonkwo can stretch the field. That joker can run now. He looks like a receiver in a lot of respects. He's shorter and he got some good speed to him. But is that where you're building your offense around, though?
Right.
Now, when you're going 2 and 3 tight end sets that they were utilizing, have been utilizing the last 2 weeks, he definitely becomes your number 1 target out of that group.
Absolutely.
But I don't know if that's going to be your next heavy diet, though.
I mean, at this point, if Traylon Burks stays out for another week, you're talking about an offense in the pass game that is schemed around a rookie tight end who is really kind of your second tight end. Like, Okonkwo is the weapon now in the pass game that you scheme yourself open for. Like, you scheme him open. Like, you scheme the offense around him being open because he's about all you got.
Oh, no.
I mean, in terms of the context of that kind of athlete who you want the ball in his hands in space, I mean, Nick Westbrook-Akine is a good receiver,
and
possession guy.
Where has he been since that 100-yard game?
Haven't. Ramon Foster says that with us every week, that he wants to see him schemed open more, too.
I mean, he had that big game, and you're like, okay, we got somebody stepping up. And then Traylon Burks was coming back, and then all of a sudden when Traylon Burks got back, it was like he went into witness protection program.
He did.
And we hadn't seen much of him. He had,
one catch for today? 4 today.
1 for 4?
Yeah.
On 2 targets?
And he's a good third option in this offense, but I think he struggles more when he's the secondary guy.
Yeah.
Because in Green Bay, Robert Woods had a good game there, too.
Yeah, it's true.
And opened up opportunities for everyone. I think we thought the Titans had unlocked something in Green Bay.
Mm-hmm.
And, that's not a good Green Bay defense. That's a Green Bay team that played
Decent,
Philadelphia.
right.
That's a team that played Philadelphia a lot closer than you just did last week in their place in primetime. So, I mean, goodness, you got to pass the ball better.
Yeah, I'm not the world's most foremost passing game coordinator, but what I will say is there's things that you can nitpick everything, but if you watch some teams, sometimes and I know you see Nick Westbrook-Akine had 2 catches, but one catch for 4 yards. Sometimes just dumping them off like that 4 yards to spread the defense out, get them on the heels a little bit. Sometimes that's all you need to spread some things open and then gash them. I don't know what the plan is to get everybody off of Derrick Henry's back or that offensive line's back. And I know we would love for him to rush for 200 and some odd yards like he did against Houston and 100 and what do you have for Denver? 115 I think he had in Denver. He'd love for that to be the norm, but right now people are saying you guys he's not going to beat us. If you're going to lose to the Tennessee Titans, Green Bay Packers, somebody else is going to beat us. And everybody stepped up and made plays. And that worked. Cincinnati came back and said, Derrick Henry's not going to beat us. We'll see if these guys can consistently beat us in a one-on-one situation. And again, today, they got a lot of one-on-one. But the offensive line didn't hold up. they didn't hope against Cincinnati either.
Right.
So it's hard if you quarterback. I don't care how well you're doing on the outside getting up. If he's scrambling, running around, and can't get you the ball, it doesn't matter. So offensive line, again, we always talk about it. It starts up front. I don't care in any level of playing. It starts up front. And for the Titans, man, 6 sacks today?
Yep. Six more.
Six more.
Problematic. And we take your phone calls until 6:30 this afternoon at 615-737-1045 here on Titans Talk Back, presented by Lee Company. Lee Company, all you need online at leecompany.com. Uber King will lead us off on the other side as we take our first break. Much more of your reaction as the Eagles beat the Titans 35-10. Lead Company Titans Talk Back, presented by Lead Company. All you need online at leadcompany.com as we react to a 35-10 loss for the Tennessee Titans in the city of brotherly love. 615-737-1045 is our number. Alongside former Titan Dr. Kevin Dyson, I'm Will Boling. We begin with Uber King in Nashville next up. Always love hearing from him on the show every week. Hey, Uber King, what's up?
Man, I've been sitting here listening to all these folks talk. And I don't know who the world said that in y'all little studio. That y'all did, he said, well, we couldn't see if A.J. Brown. Man, if you couldn't see that A.J. Brown was going to be this great this year, you must get the eyesight of Ray Charles, dog. Ray Charles could have seen that. You know what I'm saying? Come on, bro. Now, I'm going to tell you something else. We always get rid of everybody. We might be called the Tennessee Jaguars. We just use people up and then just get rid of them, and then they go to other teams. All these other teams they even got our good kicker. All our good people is gone because we could have went. The person you should have got rid of last year. I hate to say it. And the only reason I'm saying this because I know it's true. And it hurts me to say it. Tannehill should have been gone, bro. It should have been gone. It should have been gone. And we could have kept A.J. Brown. And Malik probably would have did better than Tannehill this year with A.J. Brown on the field. I know y'all don't believe in Malik, but Malik should at least got in the game today. How is he going to get better if we never put him in the game?
Well, he got in there at the end of the game. He had 4 pass attempts in this game and played the last, 3 drives?
3. Oh, man, dog. He should have came in. Tannehill out here act like he hurt. Only time he act like he hurt is when he mess up. But his ankles was doing good when he ran for that little yard.
Yeah.
That's what I'm just saying, man. I'm just fed up because we give away everything good, and then we keep what's bad and try to make it better. You can't shine a turd. It's still a turd.
Appreciate the call, Uber King. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, look, you think the frustration's bad now. Just imagine if Jeffrey Simmons goes somewhere next year and has 10 sacks.
There's no way they let him go. There's no way they can do that.
After this, I mean, I know GMs don't really think this way, but honestly, like, as well as A.J. Brown just played, Jeffrey Simmons' number might have just gone up. I mean, seriously. GMs don't think that way, but agents do.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you know that Jeffrey Simmons, who's represented himself a lot of his career, is calling saying, hey, you want to make sure this doesn't happen next year? Number just went up a little bit, which is the position the Titans have now put themselves in by letting his contract get to this point.
Dude, there's no way they can. There's no way Big Jeff's out.
The longer it goes, the less confident I feel. I still agree with you. But the longer it goes, the less confident I feel in that. 615-737-1045 if you want to jump in. Johnny in Gallatin is up next on the phone lines. Hey, Johnny.
Hey, I'm just so glad that some of these fans don't have, like, general manager powers because you got one guy talking about trading Derrick Henry, and then you got the guy before me talking about Tannehill needs to go. He's like the highest winning percentage of any quarterback in Titans history. We've seen what happens when you put Malik in. All right, he's nowhere near ready. So I don't get. And also, I don't like this narrative that John Robinson is to blame for A.J. Brown being gone. We offered him money. A.J. Brown did not want to be here.
Yeah. Thank you for the call, Johnny. Appreciate it. It is interesting the way A.J. Brown has kind of spun this thing in his post-game press conference today because he told reporters today, I wanted to retire a Titan, wanted to be a Titan for life, and I did everything I could to make that happen. And then they traded me. That does not line up with the order of operations that we heard over the spring when this thing went down.
Yeah.
The Titans offered him a deal, and A.J. and his representatives basically gaslighted them, was the word that was used in reports, and just didn't really respond back to those conversations. I mean, you can spin it however you want to at this point because it is what it is now, and the mistake was made or maybe it wasn't if AJ's injury issues continue to pop up later this year or in the future. But it is interesting the quotes coming out of AJ's post-game press conference, and he's going to take a victory lap today, and that's his right.
Yeah, absolutely. But here's what I would tell fans. When you hear about deals like this and you hear a player's perspective, that's definitely his reality. And the teams tend to be able to get the narrative out first.
Right.
they tend to be able to say, well, we tried and this didn't happen because of whatever. His agent held on. He asked for too much money and things like that. And from a player's perspective, he was like, no, this is what I asked for, and you said no. And, so there's always three sides to that story, right? It's all about reading between the lines in a lot of respects, because the teams are going to get their narrative out all the time. They're going to be favorable. It's never going to be on them. We wanted him back. He just didn't agree to the terms.
Right.
Whereas he's looking at, here's the market value for me. Here's what I've said. Here's what we said. You didn't meet that. I want to go back to the table. And you said no, so then you traded me. And that's from his perspective. So, I think we got to take it all with a grain of salt and look at what is transpired. What transpired is they couldn't work out a deal one way or the other, whether it was him saying no or them saying, or the Titan or the team saying no. It didn't work out. They felt like, since it's not close, let's try to get some value out of this instead of letting him just walk the next year if we're not close. And we got some draft picks out of some draft capital out of it. We drafted a receiver we think is going to be pretty decent. But today makes it hard because you see the dynamic ability of him and the plays that he makes. And he was extra motivated today regardless. He's still been doing this. It hasn't changed. Even though it looked special tonight, he's been doing that.
Yeah.
That's who he is. So, we got to let bygones be bygones, man, and wish him well. But we just got to wait and see. Hopefully, Burks closes that gap, and he ends up being a productive receiver for the Titans and makes you forget about it.
Yeah, you're going to certainly have to hope that he's healthy on Sunday for a game against Jacksonville. That is your biggest game of the season.
The biggest game of the season.
With your AFC South Magic number at 3, and Jacksonville taking a tough loss today, how motivated they're going to be. We'll get into that more as the show continues this afternoon, but certainly going to have to hope he's healthy. And that's certainly not a guarantee at this point, considering the hit that he took in this one.
Now, the saving grace is there's 2 teams in the division where Derrick Henry has had his way with, Jacksonville and Houston. He seems to have big games against both those franchises. So if there's going to be a reawakening of the king, we hope this is the week. We hope this is the week against Jacksonville, is that reawakening, because
absolutely
they need it. They need that. They need that energy. They need that stadium rocking because he is rocking. That's what they need.
Mm-hmm. No doubt. 615-737-1045 is the number tonight. We go to Daryl in Hendersonville up next on the phone lines. Hey, Daryl.
Hey, guys. I think the callers have been a little harsh on some of our position groups tonight, and I'll take the offensive line, for example. One thing that I've really noticed that they're good at is reaching their hand down to the quarterback and picking him off the ground. They do that with a lot of class. They're being very helpful. So they do a really good job of that. And our DBs do a really good job of studying the material patterns on the backs of the receivers' jerseys that they're always chasing after and never in front of. So they do have those 2 skills locked up. And the problem is that J-Rob is constantly, and has been, following bad draft pick after bad draft pick. Farley has been, and not only the problem of draft picks not being great, first-round draft picks not being great, but first-round draft picks not being any good at all. Farley, Adoree Jackson, I think he was a bum. He was a bust. So you've got 2 first-round draft choices in the defensive backfield that they chase with Fulton and McCreary, neither of whom are ever going to be a lockdown corner. He's had 3 busts at offensive tackle, and then he can't spend the draft choices that he would have otherwise, drafting great receivers. And I think Burks is going to be a good receiver, but he's not great. And spending more draft capital on real skill set players. He's drafting defensive backs and tackles that aren't NFL players.
Yeah, thanks for the call, Daryl. I don't know if Adoree Jackson is your strongest example of a bad first-round pick when Isaiah Wilson's sitting right there. And honestly, Christian Fulton is not the issue on this defense.
No, he's playing pretty well.
Nor is Roger McCreary. Today, your issue was you couldn't get pressure with 4. Mm-hmm. And defensively, I just think this group, as you mentioned, just is gassed right now. Mm-hmm. They're not getting any help from this offense. That pass defense is not as bad as the stats say that they are, in my opinion. And today, The Philadelphia Eagles forced the Titans to defend the element of the game that they're not as good at defending because the Eagles are more versatile on offense than the Titans are, and I'd venture to say the Eagles are one of the more versatile offenses in the National Football League, and you hit on explosive plays time and time again. And that is the knock that I will give you on this secondary is they still give up way too many explosive plays, and they have for a couple of years now.
Well, in the one-on-ones, the one-on-one battles, they're losing the 50-50 balls, if you will. A.J. Brown, again, we can talk about that till we're blue in the face, but the way you help a struggling secondary, I'm not even saying they're struggling, but all good corners will tell you, if you don't get up the quarterback, we're all struggling. You can't put your hands on receivers. It's the cards are stacked against them. If you're not getting up the quarterbacks, all these quarterbacks are good enough to deliver the ball, man. They're going to give you opportunities to make plays. Even the worst quarterbacks are some of the best quarterbacks in the country. So you gotta put it with a grain of salt. If you don't have a pass rush, it doesn't matter. So if you're only rushing 4 and you're not able to get that pressure on the quarterback and you let them just kind of get dialed in, it doesn't matter. Because I look at what the Titans did defensively. I mean, aside from those big plays, I mean, they had to earn everything they got. They gave up nothing in the rushing game. And I think a lot of even these total yards, they had 67 total yards. I think a lot of those came in that fourth quarter when they were just trying to run the clock out. I think like 20, 30 of these 67 came at that. So at that point in the game, aside from the big passing plays, the defense really hadn't been dominated, if you will. They just gave up the big plays. Now, I'm not diminishing that either. That's worrisome. You got to worry about that. But I'm just looking at it, the glass half full, saying the defense is pretty good. But to what you just alluded to, Will, is these jokers are tired. They've been on the field excess of 30-plus minutes. I don't know how many straight games now. I had to go back and look. But I know it's been 2, maybe 3 for sure. They've been on the field over 32, 33 minutes.
615-737-1045. I completely agree with you on that for sure. We got a Mike in Nashville up next. Hey, Mike.
Hey, guys. How you doing?
How you doing, man?
Good. So I just wanted to say one thing, and everybody's already said it pretty much, but the one thing I just can't get over is when they traded A.J. Brown, to get a better position in the draft, John Robinson and them in the war room were like high-fiving and celebrating. And I'm sitting there like, what are you doing? We had 2 guys. We had the best running back in the league and A.J. Brown being one of the best wide receivers. We were right there. We were Super Bowl contenders. And now we're not. And now he goes to the Philadelphia Eagles and immediately makes them a Super Bowl contender, probably the best team in the NFL right now. That's a big difference that he has made for that football team. And we were right there, man. Yep. We were right there. And now and what's sad about this is Derrick's prime years, he's going to be on a team with like the Titans. I'm sure he's proud to be a Titans player. But we have just wasted that now. He's going to be one of those best running backs that the Titans had that couldn't get to the big show. And we've had a few of them. You guys know that. But That's all I got. So.
Thanks, Mike.
It's hard to argue with that, especially after today. I get it.
Absolutely.
It's hard. I mean, A.J. Brown put on the show today.
And I'll tell you this, too, that the gambles that you took on Julio Jones and Jadeveon Clowney forced you to restructure a lot of contracts and make a lot of subtractions that you didn't really want to make on this team. And A.J. Brown is the subtraction that you probably don't make if you don't gamble and lose on Julio Jones and Jadeveon Clowney.
And again, I'm going to be glass half full guy. When those 2 names, borderline Hall of Famers, right? Julio Jones, I think, is in. I don't know about Clowney. Right now, but if they're close to what they had been up until that point in their careers, you got them at a wholesale price. You got them cheap. And
you make that move every time?
Every time.
Right.
So I get it. It just didn't work. And did it not work because of the player or the style of play?
Yes.
You know what I mean? I don't know.
Right.
And
that's the issue too, and a conversation that we'll likely have at the end of the season and in the offseason is that are the Titans versatile enough to fit the skill sets of star players?
Yeah.
Because the Titans' kind of star player that works for them on offense is not the kind of star player that works a lot of other places on offense. And what I mean by that is you've got to have receivers like Corey Davis and A.J. Brown that are willing to do the physical, dirty work in the run game that guys like Julio Jones and Josh Reynolds, who was here, and names that a lot of people want that are never going to come here, like Odell Beckham Jr., you're never going to be able to get that kind of star power player because that kind of player isn't bringing the lunch pail that Mike Vrabel asks for an offense.
Yep. And they look at stuff just like everybody else. They're looking at it like,
sure,
we'll go there as a free agent.
Right.
Now, if you only have very few options, they can sell you a pipe dream just like being recruited. Oh, yeah, we're going to throw the ball. We're going to do these things with you. And you get here. I mean, again, I don't know what – I'm just saying it because he's here. Robert Woods. I don't know what his options were coming off a knee injury. And this was the one place that was willing to take his physical and say, you'll be back and come out and play. He's done decently. He hasn't been dynamic by any stretch of the imagination, but he needs help.
He does.
He needs help.
One catch on 5 targets today.
Yeah.
For 6 yards. We go next on the phone lines to Larry in Portland, where you can join us at 615-737-1045. What's going on, Larry?
Thanks, fellas. John Robb, he's terrible. I mean, Brewer, he looks like a 1987 out-of-shape fullback. He's about 250 or 60 pounds. He gets trucked 2 or 3 times a game. They don't make an ink pen that has enough ink in it to write down all the bad decisions John Robinson has made. I mean, they just don't. Other teams in the league, they got dudes on the outside. Their second and third string receiver is better than anything we got. They got backup running backs. The reason we won last year when Derrick Henry got hurt is because we had a number 1 receiver. We can win without Derrick Henry, but we can't win without a number 1. Father Time is undefeated. Derrick Henry will be 29 years old in just a few weeks. I mean, this window has been closing for 2 or 3 years, and our GM has got to go. He just does.
Thanks, Larry. Appreciate the call. I don't think he's going anywhere. I'll tell you that right now.
No.
I mean, the success that you've had over the past 6 seasons now.
Yeah.
But there's certainly things that are going to have to change, and now moves that you have to make in order to atone for the mistakes that you've made in the last 2 drafts, specifically before this one.
Where do they line up? And I'm saying they, Vrabel and JR, as far as win totals since they've been together compared to other franchises?
It's a good question.
Because, and again, we're basing this off of probably Super Bowl titles.
Sure.
But if you look at it from a football perspective of franchises that are perennial playoff contenders, winning football games, winning seasons, considering the injuries and things that they have made, I get it. Do you go a different direction? And it's always GM, head coach, quarterback. They depend on your order, the importance of your team in that year, which one you try to get rid of, right?
Right.
So I'd be interested to know, since he's been here, from a win-loss perspective, how successful or unsuccessful they have been compared to the other 31 teams in the National Football League.
Well, since he's been here, John Robinson, 7 years now, is 66-43 are the wins and losses.
Okay.
Titans are yet to have a losing season. They're one of 2 teams in the NFL to have winning seasons every year since 2016. The other one is the Kansas City Chiefs.
Wow.
So, yes, are you benefiting from a bad division? Absolutely. Right. Part of the reason that division is bad is because you've controlled the entire division. Yeah. You've beaten up on teams that you're supposed to. And talking about, too, the reason why the Titans continued to win last year without Derrick Henry is because they had a number 1 wide receiver. Well, they didn't for a lot of that time because A.J. Brown was hurt for a lot of that time, too.
So it was.
Which is why he's not here anymore, is because he wasn't available enough while he was here.
Yeah.
Now, we can ask the question, is that an A.J. Brown durability problem, or is that a problem of the Titans asking a lot of wide receivers to play physically at a position where no one else is being asked to play that physically downhill in the run game?
This would be my argument. I think when you are without certain players at some point, you open up your playbook. You give other guys chances because you don't have that one guy, I have to give a ball. I have to give him the ball. And even for a defense, like, where are they going with it? Because they don't have a guy, right? When the Titans have Derrick Henry, he becomes that crutch. He also becomes the focal point. So everything is sold out to stop him. Everything is sold out to get him the ball. Everything is built around him. So when he went down last year, even though A.J. Brown was out for a lot of that as well, other guys stepped up because they were now spreading the wealth.
Right, they were.
They were spreading the wealth, and guys stepped up and were making plays. And they're finding ways to get guys the ball.
Just like they did in Green Bay a couple weeks ago.
Right.
Right.
And so I think sometimes Derrick Henry can be used as a crutch, and he has at times. Even like the playoff game last year against the Bengals, it was like, okay, the king is back. Let's feed him. Let's feed him. And they were like, you're going to have to figure this out. He's not going to beat us. I think the issue I have this year is that's the philosophy carrying over to the season. I think people looked at that film. They're going 5 down linemen, 8 guys in the box. Somebody's coming free. Is now you're getting one-on-ones on the edges. Are they winning those one-on-one battles? To a certain degree, yes, they are, but some knows. But they can't protect. So even if they are winning, the guys are getting pressure, so he can't even find the guys. So it goes tit for tat because yet if they don't win, he's holding the ball, waiting on him to get a sack. They win, he gets sacked. So it's like, okay, which one is this? The chicken or the egg, so to speak, right now. But at the end of the day, you would love to have all your weapons at your disposal. And now I'm going back to the whole Derrick Henry argument. If he is rocking and rolling, that opens up everything.
Everything.
Because nobody wants to get ran on. I don't care if you're looking at the Miami Dolphins offense when they're throwing the ball over with Tua right now. They're throwing all over the place. Even them, you got to have some kind of consistent running game. The Chiefs, another primarily throwing team. You got to be able to run the football. But if you are able to run the football, demoralizing like the Titans have in the past, that opens up everybody. A.J. Brown aside, it doesn't matter because everybody's going to be getting opportunities then because now what are you going to do? So
right. That all starts up front at the offensive line where, again, the Titans were beaten today.
Yeah.
They got beat on the offensive and defensive line, and this team is not built to lose battles up front and be successful.
They can't.
They can't.
Especially offensively right now.
Right.
Defensively, I think they've maximized everybody to – Big Jeff's not completely healthy, but he's still playing at a high level. I mean, they've lost injuries. Weaver stepped up. I mean, they've had it, Archery. Everybody has stepped up. It's just they're having to play a lot. They're having to do a lot.
And they're missing Tadeko Autry in a big way right now.
Yeah.
100%. The Titans trust their home stadium to Lee Company to tackle their HVAC, plumbing, and electrical problems. They can protect your home, too. Your next play, visit leecompany.com. Lee Company, all you need. On that defensive line, now we also have our Kroger sacks for cash. Today, the Titans had 2 sacks, adding $200, courtesy of DeMarcus Walker and Bud Dupree. For the season, Kroger's donation to Second Harvest Food Bank of Middle Tennessee stands at $4,000, courtesy of the 2 sacks today. Every time the Titans sack the opposing team's quarterback, Kroger donates $100 to Second Harvest Food Bank of Middle Tennessee. Through its Zero Hunger, Zero Waste plan, Kroger is committed to ending hunger in our communities. 615-737-1045 is our number tonight if you want to join in on the conversation. Ray in Franklin leads us off when we come back as the Eagles beat the Titans 35-10. The Philadelphia Eagles beat the Tennessee Titans 35-10. We react with you for another hour and a half here on Titans Talk Back, presented by Lee Company. Lee Company, all you need online at leecompany.com. The phone number is 615-737-1045. He's Kevin Dyson. I'm Will Boling. Brett Batchelor making the show happen for us tonight as we welcome your reaction to a tough loss for the Titans in the city of brotherly love. We begin with Ray in Franklin. First up to begin hour number 2 of our coverage. Hey, Ray.
That's Roy. That's okay.
Oh,
so,
I'm sorry about that, Roy.
I'll make a couple. That's okay. I'll make about 2 or 3 points here real quick. Number one, it's only one loss. All right. The Eagles hadn't won the Super Bowl, and, it's a lot of season left to play, and if we win next week, it's only going to be one win. It's a long season, so you can't just throw in the towel. I do think that Simmons is going to get more expensive, and we know he's good. Everyone will agree to that. So the same thing has happened with some other players that we let go. That's my biggest beef with Robinson, is that he drafts people and then, he doesn't re-sign them when you have them in-house and you know what they are. But, you should sign them if you think they're going to be good. But, A.J. Brown left to wear green for the green, so I don't really care that he's not there anymore. I'm worried about the players we got, not the players we don't. And then the other last thing I wanted to ask Kevin Dyson about specifically is, it seems like we're just in a run formation and we have all the big guys in. Why don't we just split everybody out? You don't have to block everyone if you split them all out. It seems like we're always getting somebody who's blitzing. It seems like it's a cornerback or a safety that's coming in and making a tackle in the backfield before Derrick Henry gets going. And since it's a copycat league, until we figure out a way to beat that, then we're not going to be successful. And I think the only time that we've been successful is when we've been up against teams that could scheme that, but they really couldn't do it.
Didn't have the personnel.
Produce that. So, Yeah, didn't have the personnel to do it. So, everybody's a little different. The Eagles definitely had the personnel to stop us. And if you notice, every time Derrick Henry runs, they celebrate like they won the Super Bowl when they tackle him. So he's got, because he's the king, he's got the banner on him. And so everyone, or the target or whatever. So I'll just listen to your comments, Kevin, and then if I can just stay on the line so I can hear them.
Sure, absolutely.
I appreciate it.
Thank you, Roy. Appreciate the call.
I agree with him. I think one of the things is it's that old Dare Tannehill philosophy, if you will, in the respect of, can the quarterback, receivers, and offensive line hold up enough that they make us get out of this? And I think part of it is teams are putting 5 down linemen, or if they're not, they're using 4 down linemen and walking up the 2 backers on the outside. So it's almost like a 6-2 look. So even at your best, even if you're going 3 tight end sets, you got 5 tight ends and 3 backs, they're sending that 9th guy free because it's a typical rundown and they're rotating and they're doing some different things. So as I keep watching it, it's just they're basically covering up the linemen and shooting guys through gaps, guys scot-free. And to me, I'm with you. I feel like spread it out. Spread them out. Either they got to jump out of that 50 look, 60 look, whatever you want to call it, and spread out and give you a typical look. Even if you spread them out and put them into motion. Now I'm talking about Derrick Henry, put him in motion in the backfield just to give him a look.
Right.
That still at least spreads it out a little bit. But that's just me. That's how I probably would try to get people off his back. I think I'd spread them out. I think right now we're condensing everything. It's almost like an in-between a hash type game right now.
And the only thing I'll say to the comment that it's a long season and it's only one game, we've seen the same issues on offense the entire long season.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the problem, is that today wasn't an adjustment in what didn't work last week. It wasn't an adjustment from what didn't work in pretty much every game other than Green Bay.
Yeah.
Essentially. I mean, the Titans' second half scoring total for the season by week, 7, 3 games in a row of 0 points in the second half. Yep. Then another game of 7. Game after that, you score 6. 10 points, which you've done twice this year. 3 points after that, 10 points again, 13 points, and then 6 last week and 0 again this week. The Titans have scored 0 points in the second half 4 different times this year. They have scored more than 19 points once in the last 7 games, in a total of 26 in the last 2 combined. That's more than just one game.
Yeah.
Certainly is.
Yep.
615-737-1045 is the number if you want to jump in. Nate is in Philly calling in tonight. Hope Nate is staying safe around all those Eagles fans up there. What's going on, Nate?
Hey, what's going on, 104.5? This is Nate. We're from Murfreesboro. We're just calling in. This has a lot to do, as far as not the players, the Titans or anything, but more as to our fans, man. Hell, we got rid of A.J. Brown. Congratulations. We got rid of A.J. Let's move on, A.J. was hurt for us. He ain't been hurt, in the last 13 weeks. Hell, he's had a hell of a week 13 against us. And not only that, but he had a hell of a 12 weeks before that. Let's move on past A.J. Brown, and moving towards our own selves as far as fans, man. We don't, we're quick to hop on one another as players. Let's move on from that is the way I got it. And then other than that, man, we're pretty much safe up here in Philly. We're down here on 3rd Avenue South, and I think we'll be all right tonight.
All right. Thank you, Nate. Appreciate the call. Have a Philly cheesesteak for me while you're up there.
Ooh, please do.
Actually, I had one for lunch today as I watched the game. They're good stuff. No, but the A.J. Brown thing I generally agree with as well. This is the one week where, at least on our show, our moratorium on discussing A.J. Brown was lifted because it's a critical part of the story of this game.
Right.
And especially when your wide receivers have 4 catches for 41 yards.
And 1 for 25 and a touchdown came from one guy who didn't finish the game.
Right. 4 catches for 41 yards and 1 touchdown. 615-737-1045 is the number if you want to jump in. We've got a Tim who is also calling from Philadelphia at the game today in the city of brotherly love. Hey, Tim.
Hey, how are you doing?
Good.
Good. I was just, I know we've been talking about the lack of depth at wide receiver. I was just kind of wondering the status of Race McMath and Kyle Phillips. Hadn't heard much about those guys lately.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Tim.
Great question.
Racy McMath was seen in the locker room talking to the media this past week for the first time in quite a while, actually. So Racy McMath is as close to a return as he has been all season.
Okay.
In an injury that he suffered in training camp. And Kyle Phillips is eligible to practice and eligible to come off of IR. Hasn't yet. I would expect that in the next week or two as well, just based on kind of what we've seen out there and conversations that media is having in the locker room. Could be wrong on that. I think McMath is maybe a little closer to returning than Phillips. But either way, those are guys you're going to get back in the coming weeks.
Yeah. Phillips, I'm interested to see his development because there was so much talk about him in training camp. And he had a rough preseason with the fumbles and drops and things of that nature. And just what he was able to, the rapport he built with Tannehill, I was excited going into the season where he could potentially been on 3rd down. He could have been that move to change guy, that, 3rd and short, 3rd and medium, where the ball was going, so to speak. He's going to get a 1-on-1. He's going to win that battle in the slot. But that's when I'm kind of curious to see how if he ever makes it back, what happens with him is how he's interwoven into the offense. But the rest of the guys, man, it's just got time. You just need that time to continue to heal. It's just, man, this time of year is hard to get it, and we've documented before the Titans have had more moves than anybody in the last 2 years combined. So it's rough out here, man. And again, I think it's starting to show because guys are getting fatigued because they got to play more minutes. They can't rotate as much, especially on defense.
615-737-1045 is the number if you want to jump in. And up next, we go to Ed calling from East Nashville this morning. Hey, Ed.
Hey, listen, look, this is what frustrates me about John Robinson. Okay, I think he's done a decent job. However, the SEC, all you got to do is look at the SEC the last 8 or 9 years. They've been winning national championships with wide receivers. I'm going to give you a case in point. LSU, Alabama, and Ole Miss had 9 receivers that are tops in NFL right now. A.J. Brown, DK Metcalf. LSU has 3 receivers, Terrence Marshall, Jefferson, Jamar Chase. You know who we end up with? Racy McMath off of that team. You say, that's the problem. That's the problem. You go to Alabama, Devontae Smith, he killed us today. Jalen Waddle, all these guys, man. The SEC, which won national championships on national championships with defense. 10 years ago, saw it coming. Nick Saban, a defensive genius. He's not winning national championships with defense. But what did John Robinson? I mean, he gets Racey McMath on a team with Jefferson, on a team with Jamar Chase, and Terrace Marshall. He ends up with Racey McMath. And there's nothing against Racey McMath, excuse me. The point is, you've got all these receivers in your backyard. John Robinson thinks you can win in the NFL without receivers. That is unthinkable. It's not going to happen. Look, the Rams just won the Super Bowl. Who do they have? Cooper Kupp, Odell Beckham, and you know what? Woods. Those are just three. I mean, look, the Cincinnati Bengals drafted the number one pick. They went out and got Joe Burrow. The next year, what did they do? They went right back to LSU and brought in Jamar Chase. And that same year, which was last year, his rookie year, they ran us off the field with Jamar Chase. Hey, guys, you don't have to be a GM to see that. You don't have to be a GM to know that. Open your eyes. Thank you.
Thanks, Ed. It is ironic, though, considering your first-round pick this past year was one of those SEC wide receivers. But the point does still stand that, I mean, you just got Arkansas's Treylon Burks, so I guess that's a step in the right direction for Ed. But the point is still mostly right? The succession plan behind A.J. Brown has not been successful. And the receivers you brought in, both your rookies were hurt today. Kyle Phillips continuing to be on IR, and Treylon Burks going out with a concussion today. And hopefully you're able to get him back Sunday against Jacksonville.
Yeah.
And the Rams didn't have Robert Woods in the Super Bowl. Their third guy was Ravenwood High School's own Van Jefferson in the Super Bowl at that point. So, Anyway, just a clarification there. 615-737-1045 is the number if you want to jump in. We go next to Tony in Los Angeles. Hope Tony's enjoying the warm weather that we are not getting here in Nashville. What's going on, Tony?
Hey, guys. Before I go into my points, I just wanted to thank Dice. Dice, met you at SoFi in the parking lot last year. You took a picture with some of us. You even told me you were going to the Laker game the next day. So just
I sure did.
Love that. Nothing but class. You've been a credit to the community in Nashville and a credit to the Titans organization overall. So just wanted to say thanks for that.
I appreciate you, man.
Yeah, no problem, man. Basically, this team kind of comes down to about four things. The first thing is, I think as fans, we need to understand there's this thing that's called the salary cap. So it doesn't allow you to do everything people want to do. I heard someone say, well, we should have traded Tannehill and kept Malik Willis. Well, that's all fine until we take the salary cap hit of $50 million and we have no players to put around Willis. So understand how the salary cap works, what goes into it, and what are the limitations that happen when a team has that. Guys, this team comes down to a few things. Farley, Wilson, Radens, and letting Dennis Kelly go. Big, huge mistakes that Robinson made. The other thing a lot of us as fans forget, we needed to re-sign Harold Landry. You know what that meant? That meant we probably were going to have a more difficult time in signing A.J. Brown. And as fans, I know we all wanted Harold Landry re-signed. Now, if anyone sits here and tells me, well, no, we should have signed A.J. and let Harold go, that's nothing more than hindsight. Because as fans, we all know it's a lot more difficult to find an edge rusher than it is a guy to catch the ball. That brings me to my next point, and that's A.J. Brown and Jeffrey Simmons. I'd like to think us not signing A.J. is a prelude to us finally getting a deal done for Simmons. Again, there may be 5 human beings in the world like Jeffrey Simmons, and that may not even be correct. I can find a guy to catch the ball. There's this recency bias because of the game, and we watched, and A.J. had a great game. He did. You know what? If Treylon Burks doesn't get hurt, maybe Treylon Burks has a great game today. He was certainly on his way. And the last thing I want to say is a big part of the offensive problems, guys, is the entire left side of the line. We have a horrible left tackle, and we have a glorified fullback at left guard. Until we really resolve that left side of the line and get some real players, a real left tackle that's going to play 15 games a year and not 8 like the guy who's been doing it. And we get a real left guard. Until we really address that, then, and it wouldn't matter if you had Jim Brown back there. That guy's going to have problems running the ball. So as fans, let's try and see the overall picture and not just live in this vacuum of what happened exactly today. Because, again, I'm not saying that this team's going to win the Super Bowl, but based on what we had to work with, they're kind of doing what they can do. And we're worn down, and it's frustrating. I'm with anybody else. It's frustrating, but we'll see what happens. There's 5 games left, and we know more than likely there's at least one home playoff game. And if they can get to the playoffs relatively healthy, which they're not now, you never know what could happen. Thanks, guys. Yep. Really appreciate it. And again, Dice, it was great to have you out here. Hope you enjoyed my city.
Thank you, Tony. Appreciate the call. It's the call of the day right there. I think there's a lot of good points there.
Great call. And, once you get to the tournaments, if you're hot at the right time, a la Cincinnati Bengals last year, get the right kind of matchups, a la Cincinnati Bengals last year, it's not far-fetched to think that you can make a run, right? A lot of things had to align. A lot of people had to be back, got to be healthy, again, matchups. We were talking off air. I like them matching up against the Chiefs. A lot of people don't like that. But if you look at the history of them, since Vrabel's been here, he seems to have their number. Losing this year was aside, but took into overtime to do it. So, and that was shorthanded. So,
and to the people that will say blow it up and start over and say, oh, it doesn't matter if the division's bad. You need to go ahead and tank to get better draft picks. The worst regular season team in the last 3 seasons for the Titans is the one that made the run to the AFC Championship game that was 1 year away from the Super Bowl. What if they blow it up in 2019, right?
You're right.
What if instead of making a move to Ryan Tannehill, you bring in a young guy like the equivalent of Malik Willis at the time and just say, let's just go get a young guy and see what we can do.
Yeah, start over.
Then
yeah.
there might be a different coaching staff and front office. That to me, that is why the Titans are in a difficult situation, right? Because you're just good enough to go for it, as you should, but you can't get over the hump against teams like Philadelphia, Buffalo, and Kansas City. And I think that's what makes the discussion different this year, Dr. Dyson, is that last year your issue was the Jets.
Yeah.
And Jacksonville and Houston and games that were tougher than they should have.
Should have, yeah.
100%. I mean, the fact that you lost to Houston and New York last year, but hey, the ceiling was always high, right? Because you beat Los Angeles in SoFi.
And Buffalo.
You crushed Kansas City at home.
Yep.
And you beat Buffalo at home. So that's what makes this more worrying for me from the Titans' perspective is you don't have that in your back pocket of, we can turn it on against the good teams when the lights shine brightest. Yeah. I haven't seen that this team is able to do that this year.
Yeah, it definitely haven't. And again, a team like the Chiefs that you felt like they had their number, they even eventually fall victim to them. But, when you say it out loud like that, when you think comparison to last year where they lost some games and been on here and people are calling, I can't believe you lost to the Jets. And, we'd say the whole typical, the pros too, right? Everybody was out here trying to win football games, but they won all the big games up until that playoff moment. And that's what's sticking into my head a lot too, because that moment right there, because I feel like that was a team that could have made a run. It probably should have. But I didn't think about the team that made the run to the AFC Championship game that, man, we were on dealer's money right there. We was on house money. Nobody thought they were going to make that run.
Yeah.
And they're just a few possessions away to make it into the Super Bowl that year too. And nobody would have expected that. But last year, I think the expectations went up, and those expectations from last year just carried over into this year. And I think we just wanted to springboard and already be at that moment, be at that point of being a Super Bowl contender. And, year to year, the NFL's year to year. I mean, look at how the mighty have fallen. Look at where the Rams are right now. Injuries and stuff play a big part in that, but look at where they're at right now. They're a struggling team just below 500. So, it's need to be happy with what we have a winning franchise that continues to be relevant in the playoffs, but I get everybody's beef. You need to go to that next level at some point.
Right.
And what that looks like, it depends on the caller, depends on your viewpoint, your vantage point. Everybody has their perspective. At some point, you'd like to see them make that jump and make a substantial run and eventually get to the dance again.
615-737-1045 is the number if you want to jump in tonight on Titans Talk Back, presented by Lee Company. We go to Jay in the Borough up next on the phone lines. Hey, Jay.
What's going on, everybody? How we doing?
All right, man. How you doing?
Doing good. So I think J-Rob's upcoming off season is one for his career, at least with Tennessee. Go back all the way maybe back to when we had Conklin and that offensive line with Saffold and all those guys. And they're not here anymore. And I understand it's hard to keep everybody. I get it. I understand that Tannehill, they gotta, had to keep him this year because of the salary cap. I'm a smart guy, smart fan. I like to think I am, and I understand salary cap it. But go back and look. You've got Isaiah Wilson, Farley, all these issues. Then you let AJ go, and you have nothing to show for it. You can't let Big Jeff walk because they're going to be in trouble if they do that. And if he doesn't have an off season from draft, free agency, trades, re-signing, and restructuring, it's going to be pitchforks and torches heading towards Nissan Stadium. I mean, it's that close. So he's got to kind of shape up, or he might be shipping out. I'll let you guys have it. And Kevin Dyson, you remember, you got something down the sideline, brother. Appreciate you guys.
Thank you, Jay. Appreciate the call.
Yeah, I can't let Big Jeff go.
No, you cannot afford to.
I know JR. He's no way a part of that defense. That's one important cog you have to make sure you keep.
I mean, you're gonna have a lot of contracts that are going to be gone next season. When you look at Robert Woods, who has a cap hit of $8 million this year, you look at Taylor Lewan at left tackle.
I think he's gone.
I think he's absolutely
Unfortunately.
One of those discussions you're going to be having, and then Zach Cunningham again too.
Yep.
Same exact situation. That's about $40 million right there.
Right there.
That is a Jeffrey Simmons.
Yeah.
Right there. 615-737-1045 is the number if you want to jump in. We go next to Andy in Goodlettsville on the phone lines. Hey, Andy.
Hey, good evening, fellas. Always enjoy the show.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
I have a question for you. Hopefully this doesn't turn into one of your bad calls. But Tannehill's my man. And I think he can do so much. What was Giselle saying? Tom can't throw it to himself.
Yeah,
true.
But that to me that and I totally agree with the previous caller about the left side. But the left side's been a problem for a minute, and something really does need to be done about that. But I believe that Tannehill is the guy for this team and for this town. The question is, you see a lot. I think there are a lot of quarterbacks that would have been pulled today, don't you? With some of the beatings that he was taking.
Yeah, I probably would have pulled him earlier.
There are quite a few. So I guess my question is this: Vrabel is a player's coach. I think that there's no question about that. And maybe they should have, or maybe they shouldn't have. I don't think I would mind seeing Malik play against Jacksonville because he's getting crunched. But do you think that it can become an issue that some of these guys are allowed to make the decision where someone needs to step in? And lastly, I was wondering if you could change the name of the show to Titans Talk Back with Brentwood Billy and the dog from the block. Y'all have a good night.
Thank you, Andy. Look, on the kind of the front end of this, Ryan Tannehill is your starting quarterback this season as long as he is even at, 50%?
Yeah.
I mean, we've seen enough of Malik Willis to know that he's not ready yet. He's just not. That being said, if a game gets out of hand like it did today, I would like to see Malik come in more quickly than he did today. But there's no one else that's making a start unless Ryan Tannehill just physically cannot run. And he actually even said today after the game the ankle was feeling better. Then I think he tweaks it again at the end of that one.
And I see why they left him in there that last drive. I think they wanted to see they can get something going.
Mm-hmm.
And then when it didn't work out, it's like, okay, we could get out of here, lick our wounds, go back to the drawing board. We got a division game coming up. I think how many times in the next 3 weeks. They played them twice the next 3 weeks. Jags, is that what it is?
It is. Yeah,
2 and 4.
I believe so. Yeah,
yeah, something like
2 and
that.
4.
So this is a big game. You know, your cushion is still there. Especially depending on what happens with the Colts tonight. Your cushion of lead in your division is still there. You're 3-0. This is a crucial game against a Jaguar team that is hungry to get a big win, and this would be a big win for them, especially coming here that first time around to get it. Trevor Lawrence is an uprising quarterback. He's still developing, but he's starting to shine. They're dangerous. They're talented on both sides of the ball. They're young, but they're talented and dangerous. So it's not an easy game. So people are looking at it like, well, the Jags are still
right.
They're still close. They're very close. I'm sure they're calling shows or like they're a few possessions away or having their record flipped around too
from being in a pretty solid spot.
Right.
Yeah. Right.
So this is not an easy game by any stretch of imagination.
Right. Titans Talkback is presented by Lee Company. Lee Company, all you need online at leecompany.com. The phone number to join us is 615-737-1045. And next we take more of your phone calls reacting to the Eagles' win in Philadelphia over the Titans. Chris in Brentwood will lead us off on the other side as we continue a reaction for one more hour here on Titans Talkback 104.5 The Zone. It's Titans Talk back on 104.5 The Zone. Eagles 35, Titans 10. Your phone calls at 615-737-1045. Alongside Kevin Dyson, I'm Will Boling. We continue the conversation for another hour, taking you up to Westwood One's coverage of Sunday Night Football here on The Zone at 6:30. 615-737-1045, the number. Chris is in Brentwood and up next to talk with us. Hey, Chris, how are you?
Hey, man, y'all doing all right, man? Appreciate it, man. Love y'all show, man. Doing a great job.
Thank you.
Appreciate it, man.
But I want to talk a little bit about the wide receiver. I know everybody's kind of dogging the wide receiver, saying we don't have no wide receivers and we need to go out and get some. But as a former receiver, we got to understand you got to get opportunities to make plays. I know when they played against the Kansas City Chiefs and Conley dropped a pass and another receiver dropped a pass, but as a receiver, you got to get in kind of a rhythm. And I think sometimes it's kind of unfair to where, a receiver drops one ball with one attempt, and we classify these guys as just bad receivers. And then another thing with the A.J. Brown thing is everybody's kind of, really dogging J. Rob, saying he should have kept him and signed him. But we got to understand, if you look at the tweets and the Instagram, A.J. Brown didn't want to be here. So if you have a guy that doesn't want to be here, why would you want him to be a part of your team? I just want to get your thoughts, throw that out there, and tell me, guys, what you think about that.
Thank you, Chris. Appreciate the call.
I'll say this. I've been saying it's hard to be productive as a receiver if you don't get no attempts your way. If you don't get no targets, chances of you being productive, it dwindles down. If I only got 2 targets, chances I could get, the most I have is 2 catches. And I've said this on here before. I remember I had a big game. People were like, "Wolves for the breakout game." Like, well, the ball came my way. It makes it easier, right? So it does. But it also makes it hard for the quarterback to give you targets if he's running for his life half the game.
Yeah.
So it goes hand in hand.
I think they just need more receivers.
Right.
Is the other thing. Like, I think that's half of it is that, it's not that Nick Westbrook-Akine isn't a good player. I think we've both been complimentary of him this season, that he's made some plays and has made the most of his opportunities. It's just hard to only have 3 guys up after your number 1 gets hurt. I mean, Treylon Burks goes down, and you have 2 wide receivers and your punt returner.
Yeah.
C.J. Board, at Clarksville, Tennessee's own, had not taken a single snap at wide receiver before this game since he joined the Tennessee Titans a few weeks ago. He was a punt returner. He's a specialist. And now he's forced into a role that, you're practicing every day, but you're not comfortable with on the field with Ryan Tannehill and with the context of this offense. So I think what your point is a good one as well, that it just like Derrick Henry didn't kind of click as the guy until he was getting in a rhythm.
Right.
He's a rhythm runner.
Yeah,
he's got to get 15, 20 touches to get in the flow of the game.
If not more, yeah.
That can be said about probably more wide receivers even than running backs, right? I mean, wide receivers need regular looks in order to get in the flow and the rhythm of the game to feel comfortable and be ready when their number's called.
Now you can have a game similar to what Treylon had, even though it was limited. Like 1 catch, big catch for a touchdown. You might have 3 catches, 76 yards, and big plays, right? You might have those moments. But to your point, a lot of times from a receiver, get me involved. Let me feel the game. Let me move around. Let me see where the zone is doing. Let me get my body banged around with this corner so I know how I can position him on certain plays. There's a rhythm that comes with that dancing, man, that you're doing out there on the field. And if you're getting – and I was looking at it, Treylon Burks had 1 attempt, but that was limited because of injuries. Robert Woods had 5. That's 6 to receivers. Board had 1, 7. Westbrook-Akine, 8, 9 attempts out of 25 to the receivers.
Yeah.
Everything else is to running backs and tight ends. So it's hard for receivers to be productive when you got 9 attempts out of your whole core coming your way in the course of a game. Now, you only threw 25 times, but again, of those 25, only 9 of them came my way as far as a receiver is concerned, where you look at A.J. Brown, he didn't even play the whole game, had 10 targets.
Yeah.
Himself. Easier to be productive.
Right. It certainly is. 615-737-1045, the number if you want to jump in. All good points with our former Titans wide receiver, Kevin Dyson, here on Titans Talk Back. We got a William up next in Las Vegas calling in. The show goes to Nevada tonight. Hey, William.
Hello, gentlemen. How y'all doing?
Good. How you, man?
Great. I just want to jump on what you just said, Kevin. I think that's what's the whole issue with the Titans team is that they're not balanced on offense. You're just, Vrabel looks at the receivers as run blockers first, then receivers.
Yep.
And so I think that's the whole issue with and their offenses were starting to drag down the defense now. If you see it, they're starting to get tired. And I know they're not pointing fingers yet, but their play is affecting the defense now. The offense is all season, their bad play is now starting to catch up to the defense.
Yep.
It is. Thank you, William.
Yeah. You never hope for that in your locker room, and it very rarely happens. You won't see it. You won't hear it. They're gonna band together. It's the locker room versus the world, man. All of us naysayers out here looking at this, critiquing them, they're not gonna do it. But however, I know it weighs on the defense. I know even as an offensive player, when we weren't productive, I felt bad for the defense. I'm like, dang, we got to help these guys out.
Yeah,
I know it does. You definitely feel that as a player. And there'll be times we score and we're like, dang, defense just need to stop. Like, stop them so we can get back on the field, and it goes hand in hand. Now, you don't think ill of your teammates or nothing like that. But at some point, you're like, man, we need y'all to put some points. And how many times did the Titans score plus 20 this year? Twice?
It is. It's not happened much.
Yeah, they've been hovering around 20, but I'm saying like 24-ish. I'm talking outside plus 20.
It's over 24 once, right, in Green Bay?
Once, and then 21, 22 another time.
Titans have scored more than 19 points once in the last 7.
It's hard. It's hard to win a game in the National Football League when it's built for offenses to be successful 19-12, 19-15, 21. You have to put up points.
Sure do, especially in this NFL.
Right.
Playing a quarterback that's as dynamic as Jalen Hurts. And I'll say this, too. It gets really tough to tackle that kind of quarterback when you tackle him too hard when he has the ball and when he doesn't have the ball and it's roughing the passer.
Seriously.
Don't anyone ever take this out of context that I'm saying the Titans lost this game because of the refs. Absolutely not.
No, but.
Let's be able to have two conversations at once. That yes, the Titans deserve to get blown out today.
Yeah,
but it is hard to tackle that kind of quarterback
because
when you hit him too hard, you get called for a penalty. So then you miss tackles and you criticize. You go, oh come on, take him down, wrap him up. Well,
one of those they fell on top of him.
Of him.
What are we gonna? What
he
else
was
you got to do?
Up.
I don't know what you got to do nowadays, man.
I just laugh. It is today's NFL, and that's it's what the NFL wants this league to be.
Yep, it's an offensive league, which further illustrates the point of why the Titans are not able to have some success offensively. And ultimately, it starts with head coach. It's coming around. Everybody's talking about it.
Right.
The offense coordinator. At some point, that becomes a conversation. Is it the right person for this offense or this team at this moment? It's not totally solely on him. Obviously, he can call the plays. Duke still got a block. But there are some things creativity-wise that he can help his players out.
And the receiver that you had that could kind of take advantage of the rules that are slanted towards the offense just played for the other team. And had one of those plays that might be offensive pass interference a couple of years ago that is illegal contact on Christian Fulton as he gets flattened.
Yep. And I hope he's back next week.
Yeah, definitely. 615-737-1045 is the number if you want to jump in. Bobby will lead us off on the other side as we take more of your phone calls and react to a Titans loss in Philadelphia tonight. Facility managers need a reliable partner for their HVAC, plumbing, and electrical needs. They trust Lee Company's 24/7 service and their team of experts. Your next play, visit LeeCompany.com. Lee Company, all you need. More reaction after this on 104.5 The Zone. It's Titans Talk Back, presented by League Company on 104.5 The Zone. Another 45 minutes to react to a Titans defeat in Philadelphia, 35-10, at the hands of A.J. Brown and the Philadelphia Eagles. An interesting quote by Mike Vrabel postgame that we'll get to coming up in a couple of minutes about the offense and potential changes coming. I think there were some noteworthy comments from the head coach after this one. We'll get you that reaction coming up in just a couple of minutes. But first, we go back to the phones at 615-737-1045. Bobby is in Nashville up next. What's going on, Bobby? How are you?
I'm doing fine. How you gentlemen doing? And happy holidays to you.
We're great. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Hey, my question is, and I'm just really, really curious. We had the brightest star that was on our team without the talent surrounding him. That was Delaney Walker. Okay. Now we have talent on the team that is not utilized. Mike Vrabel come from a Super Bowl team that he played for that was able to be flexible and adjust and make changes. How come it is that he is not doing the same with his philosophy of how we do our offense? Because you know what? From what I've seen, our offensive team and schemes that we have the talent there, but not the play calling.
Yeah.
We don't have the play calling that matches. We have a Super Bowl team in our midst at this present time, but it's not utilized. It is not to the fullest extent utilized. We have so much talent on our team that you want to take one or two or three players, but we have so much more than that that's on our team that it's not utilized when it comes to play calling. Now, I blame Mike Vrabel in this because he is the head coach. I also blame the offensive coordinator that is in this. If they don't come to a situation where they commit to making changes as far as how they do their play calling, we are doomed until he gets fired, period. There's no ifs, no ands, or buts about it. But I think that right now, at this present time, we have the team that can actually reach and be a competitor in the Super Bowl. We have that kind of talent that reaches the level of the Kansas City Chiefs, the Miami Dolphins, the Buffalo Bills, the LA Rams, the San Francisco 49ers.
Yeah.
We have a Tampa Bay Buccaneers. We have that type of talent. Now, everybody can criticize Tannehill for a lot of different things, but you know what? If you don't give him the option of being able to have more than one receiver or two receivers, we are doomed.
Yeah,
we
thank
have
you,
so
Bobby.
much talent. Huh?
Thank you. Yeah, appreciate the call. We got to keep it moving here. Got a lot of people on the line to chime in here too. But look, you don't have Super Bowl talent when you can't protect your quarterback enough to get it to whoever wide receivers are out there.
Yeah.
The Titans are not good enough on the offensive line to get those weapons involved. And while I think both of us have had the issues we've had with some of the play calling on offense and it being conservative and not using the skill players in the way they need to be used, when you can't protect your quarterback, you could have Jerry Rice and Randy Moss running out there. And if you don't have time to throw it to them, then it's not going to matter.
It don't matter. They're not going to get the attempts, their targets. So, but and again, I'm going to be the half empty guy.
Okay.
So half empty is, what are you doing as a coordinator to help your guys? What are you doing from a protection standpoint? Are you mixing up your protections? Are you so predictable that they ever get a beat on you? Are you moving guys and pieces around to be able to get some of your key figures the ball in space? Are you doing some things to get guys? That's being a devil's advocate to what the caller was suggesting. But I do think JR and Vrabel are going to be in a crossroads when the season ends, depending on how it goes. And anything short from Super Bowl, I think the conversation is going to be is Downing back. I think that's going to be a legitimate question that is of concern that fans want to know, including, I think, maybe even the players, considering the production or lack thereof there has been in the last 2-3 years from an offense standpoint.
615-737-1045. Brian is in Philadelphia and was also at the game today. What's going on, Brian?
Hey guys, good evening. How are you?
Good.
Good, man.
Yeah, hey, I grew up in Clarksville and live in Philly and took the family today. And honestly, guys, a little disappointed. Growing up a Titans fan, I was disappointed. I didn't really see any cadence on the offense or defense. Didn't seem like there was any rhythm today. Wanted to get your thoughts on that.
Yeah, appreciate the call, Brian. I think the big issue with that, Dr. Dyson, is the first down of the drive. And Mike Vrabel talks about this a lot. Too many 3-and-outs today.
Yeah.
For this team. They open up the game 3-and-out on their first possession. Third drive of the game, 3-and-out. The Titans today had 5 3-and-outs if you count the end of the game as they punted there at the end. So really, I would say that they had 4 3-and-outs. And those came as 4 of your first 6 drives. Hard to get in a rhythm when that is the case.
But, again, be devil's advocate.
Yep.
Got to do it. Of those 3-and-out, what was the predictability? I think that's what fans are saying. Was it run a first down, run a second down, throw on third down? Was it a
lot of run, pass?
Yes. Was it a lot of that? Was it, okay, we're going to play action on first down. Now we're in a long down distance, 2nd and 10. Try to run, try to get a couple yards back. Now we're forced to throw. What was the overall game plan? What was it in that dude on those 3-and-outs? And I think that's where fans are seemingly getting agitated with. It seems to be pretty much we're going to go with 2 tight ends set, run Derrick Henry on first down, maybe play action on first down, and now we're in long down the distances, which makes it harder to convert.
Exactly. I mean, this team, if it can't run the football, is just not going to be successful.
It's not.
Not on offense.
Not right now.
No. They've got to develop a changeup to go with their fastball because the fastball's lost a heck of a lot of velocity.
Man.
Over the past couple of weeks. So we gave the numbers at the beginning of the show. 75 carries, 208 yards. That's 2.8 yards per carry. 1 rushing touchdown in the last 4 games for Derrick Henry, going back to the win over Denver. Titans are 2-2 in those games. So you pulled it off against Green Bay, but it took a pretty flawless effort from Ryan Tannehill to pull it off against Green Bay, and a really good effort by your offensive line compared to other efforts that we've then seen.
Absolutely.
Since that time. 615-737-1045 is the number if you want to jump in. We go to Jared in Mount Juliet up next on the phone lines. What's going on, Jared?
How you doing, gentlemen?
Good.
Hey, yeah, so I know everybody wants to hop on Robinson because Brown had a good day. But to me, the glaring weakness is we can't run the football. For the past 2 weeks, we've just gotten pushed around at the line of scrimmage. To me, just we can't run block. I mean, it's just. I almost think we're better at pass protection at this point than run blocking for Henry. It's just deteriorated to the point where, I mean, as soon as he touches the ball, he pretty much has someone on him. And I think just the lack of pressure on the quarterback has just, especially, it seemed like earlier in the season we were getting pressure with just our front 4. Now it's just a point where they don't even get close to the quarterback. And I think that a lot of that's, we rarely ever blitz, or at least it doesn't seem like it to me. And this secondary, I mean, they're just Swiss cheese. I think McCreary's kind of gone backwards a little bit, and I don't know if Fulton's 100% or not, but it's just there's so many more issues we've got to address beyond whether or not we traded A.J. Brown. I think the more I think about it, the more I felt good about that trade. I think there were starting to be some issues with A.J. Beyond the play on the field or whatnot, but or the money he wanted. I think he was getting to be a little bit of a diva. But I think Burks is going to be a good player. That was a heck of a catch he made today, and to hold on to the football, I think he's going to be really good. But outside of that, that receiving corps, there's just not much there. So I think just regroup, try to win 10, 11 games. I mean, if last year taught us anything, it's it's that it's not how you start, it's how you finish. And the home field advantage has not been kind to us in the playoffs. It just hasn't. We seem to do better on the road. So, we got to get healthy. We got to win the division, which I think we'll do both those things. But I mean, when you look at the Bengals and the Chiefs and the Eagles, some of the top echelon teams in the league, we're just right now there's a big gap between us and them, and
Sure.
I think it starts at the line of scrimmage.
Yep. Thanks, Jared. Appreciate the call.
That's a good call.
A lot of truth there.
A lot of truth.
Right. 615-737-1045 is the number if you want to jump in as well. And we'll stay in Mount Juliet, where Sam is up next on the phone lines. Hey, Sam.
Hey, guys. Just a quick note. The two guys we traded to Buffalo, Roger Saffold and Quisenberry, they would look pretty good now, wouldn't they, huh?
Doing all right. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, geez, so. Okay, I just want to drop that note, but, they seemed to work okay in Buffalo, but they couldn't work in Tennessee.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, thanks, Sam. And to be fair, those weren't trades. Those were guys that just
they're
were
contracts up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I would sometimes, and again, some players, depending on schematics, fit other places better, their role. And like it or not, that happens. You know what I mean? Some guys,
sure,
they come to a certain place that's not necessarily the right scheme for them, and they flounder, and then the vice versa. You get some guys, they go to another place to get different opportunities, and the scheme fits their skill set, and they flourish. And that happens a lot. And you mentioned, too, Clowney and Julio Jones. They come to a system that wasn't necessarily fit their skill set and at their point in their career, and they floundered. They didn't do well. But, again, we can sit there and look at all the past free agency and draft picks and all that kind of stuff, and we can make a list of who's and the success rate of each man. But at the end of the day, when the guy's on your roster right now, he's got to produce, and to help him produce, the coaches have to put in position to produce.
Yep.
So it goes hand in hand. But right now, that offensive line is struggling. The receiving core is minimal right now from a production standpoint, and they need the help. And the help that I'm talking about can be even as simple as moving guys around and helping guys out. They need help from the protection standpoint.
Yep.
They need Tannehill up, and they need help from the running game. They need that running game to get going, so it opens up things in the passing game.
615-737-1045 is the number if you want to jump in. Nathan is in Mount Juliet and gets to chime in with us right now. What's going on, Nathan?
Yeah, I'm good. I want to know why everybody's hating on Caroline Burks with the A.J. Brown thing. It's like, no, you can't compare them two because it's not. If Traylon Burks didn't get knocked out of the game, this game could have been completely different if he didn't get knocked out.
Yeah. Appreciate it. Thanks for the call, Nathan. I haven't really heard a lot of criticism of Burks today, at least.
No, not today. But
he's turned into the number one wide receiver the past three games.
And I've been saying it. I think one of the things I'm excited about is his confidence level seems to be going up.
Yeah.
I've seen the explosion off the line of scrimmage, and then, of course, he's made two big catches the last 2 weeks of jump balls, and he's come down with them strong hands and shown the ability to make those types of catches. So I'm excited for that because I think as he continues to grow in the offense and builds confidence and they continue to move him around, because I think that's where he's more apt to be successful. He's not just going to line up on the numbers and just beat a guy one-on-one every day, all day. I think he's a move-around guy, put in position to get favorable matchups so then he can have some success and use his ability that he does have. And you see them doing that. Today, in case of point, he caught that big vertical catch as a number 3 receiver on the inside. He was running down the middle of the field, and he made that big catch. And knowing you're going to take a hit. And he took one of the worst kind of hits, head right to his head, and he still held on to it. So, but he's still developing, but he's showing the signs of progressing in the right way. He's showing that he's able to potentially take on that number 1 receiver moniker.
615-737-1045 is the number tonight on Titans Talk Back, presented by Lee Company. And after our final break, We'll get to Rick and Adam. Much more of your reaction as well. We'll have those two lead us off on the other side as the Eagles beat the Titans 35-10. Titans Talk Back is presented by Lee Company on the air for 20 more minutes here on 104.5 The Zone as we take your phone calls at 615-737-1045. With Dr. Kevin Dyson, I'm Will Boling. Lots to react to in a 35-10 win for the Philadelphia Eagles over the Titans. And we mentioned it in the last segment. Mike Vrabel with an interesting comment after the game, Dr. Dyson, saying, I think we're at a crossroads with how we want to move forward with this season.
That's telling.
That's a telling quote from a guy that is typically, hey, we got to play better, we got to coach better. Status quo, the Titans way, kind of is the Titans way. And this team, we mentioned it at the beginning of the show, and Mike Keith mentioned it on the final segment of the Titans Locker Room Report on Titans Radio. This team is at a crossroads just like it was in Week 3. Coming off of a similar loss to the Buffalo Bills, where they had to go back to the drawing board and figure out, with this team and this personnel that we have healthy right now,
right,
what is our best recipe for success? Because the past 2 weeks has not been good enough against great opponents, and in order for you to get to the point where you want to get to as a team and as a franchise, you're going to have to beat great opponents.
Yeah.
So this team's got to go back to the drawing board for Sunday against Jacksonville this weekend.
Yeah, that's pretty telling because that means it's a humbling statement, meaning, okay, I know in my head where I want us to be, but it's not working. So let's figure out what will work. How can we get our guys in position to be successful? Conventional thinking is why you didn't think about this earlier, but at the same time, if you got a vision in mind and you know where you want to get to and you got the pieces that you think you have in place to do it, and it's just not working, sometimes you can drive yourself insane. We kept saying it last week. At some point, you got to understand that square peg's not going to that round hole. And if teams are going to sit there with 6, 7, 8 guys in the box, every time you line up on first, second down, or every time you line up in a pro set or multiple tight end set, they got 8 guys there. That's a battle you're not able to win right now. So how do you help these guys out? How do you get guys in position so you can move the chains and put up points? You know, because we talked about it a little bit, 0-5 in the red zone when you had been efficient up until that point the last 2 weeks. Now you hadn't even been able to get in the end zone. And so at some point, though, you got to score points. And we've been saying that all year long. At some point in the year, you got to score points. And today, even last week, but today specifically, it's evident. You had to put up points. I even go back last week because 0-3 in the red zone, the same thing. But you had to put up points because you're not going to be able to keep up with the upper echelon of teams if you can't do that.
615-737-1045, the number, our final segment to take your phone calls reacting to this loss in Philadelphia. We go next to Rick in Columbia, talking Titans and Eagles. Hey, Rick.
Hello, guys. Great show.
Thank you,
Dr. Dyson, I've been with the Titans from the beginning, and you, sir, are one of my favorites. I've always enjoyed watching you play.
I appreciate you, man. Thank you.
You're welcome. I've been listening to these callers, and they calling in, pointing the blame finger in all different directions, which it's their right. But the call I had the most opposition to is a few calls back, the guy was so upset for the Titans play. He kept saying that the Titans are a Super Bowl team. Well, pardon my humble opinion, but no, Titans are not a Super Bowl team. From my perspective, they are a good, above average National Football League team, and that's what they are, and it is what it is. For me, it's just that simple. Thanks for taking my call, guys.
Appreciate the call.
Appreciate the call.
Thank you, Rick.
And you know what? I mean, is there anything wrong with being a good team? Not necessarily, but as a fan, what I want, ultimately, I want to be the last two standing.
I want to be great.
I want to be great.
Especially when you've been good now for 6 years.
Yeah. So I think that's what it is. But from my standpoint, being somebody who had played in it and understanding how hard it is to get to that level and win and get to Super Bowl, and how fortunate you are to have a team that is relevant year in and year out and not have the down years, the lean years, a la, let's say, the Browns. The Bears have been down for a while. Well, they've been up and down, too. They've kind of had theirs up and down. But there's some franchises that have been down for years. They might have one winning season here, but then they're down for 6, 7, you know.
Right.
And so to have a team that's been relevant since, what'd you say, Will, 2015, 2016?
Around that time, yeah.
Yeah, that's saying something, right? I mean, that's legitimately saying that you have a team that's right there. But what is that move that gets you over the hump to get you back into the Super Bowl?
Yeah, 2017, really that first year where, you go to Kansas City and you play in the wild card round and get a win. And, that's when this kind of begins, 2017, 2018, for John Robinson and this entire organization. 615-737-1045, the number. Adam is in Portland and up next on the phone lines. Hey, Adam, what's up?
Hey, buddy. A couple things, man. Number one, Danico Autry seriously missed. Like, the defense doesn't look the same without him. And I didn't know, coming into the year, I didn't know he was that important. I thought Big Jeff was that important, which Jeff I don't think is 100%. He's not moving dudes the way he usually moves dudes. Not the basis of my call, but those are two big players that I think we're going to have to have in order to do what we want to do. Dice, I know you remember Les Steckel, Heimerdinger, man. This is not. It's a problem when you can't adjust. And I hear the callers all day, but if Derrick Henry's the focal point of your offense, okay, at least you have that. But when he's held to 20 yards rushing, 30 yards rushing, and you can't pass, you got a serious problem, man. Like I'm not saying Todd Downey's a bad guy. I'm saying either it's the players we have, which I think I'm so low on John Robinson right now. I mean, he's on the floor, man. Like that's how low he is. But I think Mike Vrabel's doing all he can to coach the guys he has, but you're not making adjustments. Let somebody else call plays in there. Or it goes to special teams. Let somebody else, chalk up a week's worth of special teams plays, because I feel like those two areas right now are really bad. What's wrong with letting somebody else call plays for a week? Just try it out.
Yeah, thanks, Adam. I think you're getting closer to that point.
You think so?
I don't know if it's this year still. And honestly, if there is a new play caller for the Titans, I don't know if we'll ever know it, because Mike Vrabel is going to protect his guy and protect Todd Downing, who has been with him for a while. So if Tim Kelly gets more authority in that room, I don't know if we ever know that for a fact, because, I mean, in 2020, Shane Bowen was basically the defensive coordinator without being the defensive coordinator. I mean, right? I mean, this is just the way things often go with this coaching staff.
Yeah.
But, I do think the play calling remains an issue on offense, and it's something that is a bad thing to pair with an offensive line that's struggling.
Yeah. And it's hard to call plays when your offensive line is struggling. They just give him some fair assessment on that too, right?
Sure.
Just give him something. When your offensive line is injured, battered, inconsistent, it's hard to call a whole lot of plays. You can have the best plays drawn up in the world, and if the quarterback's got people in his face, it doesn't matter. He can't find them. And vice versa, if you got the best running back in the world, which right now we probably do, it's hard for him to run if people are in his face in the backfield as soon as he touches the ball. So, offensive line is struggling a little bit right now, and a lot of it. And that doesn't help the cause of the offensive coordinator, because that still goes back onto him. At the end of the day, it all comes back. All roads lead back to the play caller and the head coach. And so I think to that point, there's going to be a conversation at the end of the year. I don't know what it is. You seem to think it's going to be one where he's gone or relinquishing some of his play, calling duties or something.
Something's got to change at this point.
Yeah, something's going to happen. There's going to be some kind of conversation.
Right. 615-737-1045. Sean is in Texas calling in next with us here on Titans Talk Back. What's going on, Sean?
Hey, what's going on?
How you doing, man?
For having me. Yeah. So I was going to talk about is last year. I mean, he made a great comment, and I was in the chat, saying some of my two cents. But the biggest thing that we don't do is we don't make the necessary adjustments. Like, I think I heard one of y'all speaking about it, is Derrick Henry. Like, no one, like, you see, it's the run game is not there. Why do we keep running Henry straight up the middle? It's gone. Our offensive line is terrible. And I do agree, we have to, the Titans, they need to, like, do something, with that offensive line. Because if you don't win in the trenches, you can't win ball games. It all starts there. If the trenches don't work, if the line doesn't work, try to do something else, like try to implement some sweeps, reversing pitches, draws, something like, or get the fullback, involved or something, like be creative. Like Hiller comes in the field, the opposing defenses know, hey, it's going to be a throw.
Yeah.
Oh, and then we put Jeff Swaim out there. Like, why do we keep putting Swaim out there? Like, I don't understand that. Like, why? Like, use Hooper, use Chig more, get him involved. Chig, I think he only had one catch. And it was like a 40 yards. Like, dude, like,
well, Chig had 4 for 68. They did get him more involved at the end there today.
My bad. I'm sorry. I think I cut it off early because I was so upset.
Sure. Yeah, you're good. You're good.
But like that guy, he's amazing. Like, come on, like be creative. And as far as for like, it was one, and then this is where it's bad for the coaching part. I think it was a play that was meant for, I think, Hooper, and I think Nikita Westbrook supposed to do pass blocking. That dude totally fumbled the bag. I mean, he totally like blew that play up because he was out there. He was confused. Like, should I go right? Should I go left? And it was almost an interception. Luckily, it wasn't. But it's like stuff like that where Todd Downing has to get creative and be like, hey, we want to get more discipline, wants to get more sound, and they was totally like lost out there at some point. And then it was at one point where the defense people want to get mad at defense. Yeah, they get up 35, but at some point, like, the defense can't do that every game. They can't keep teams under 20 every game. They're going to have to. It's going to be some games where the offense is going to have to learn how to compete. They'll have to learn how to score. Like, at one point, we were the number 1 red zone scoring offense in the league. What happened to that? We were the number 3 red zone defense in the league. What happened to that? You know, like, it's just so many things. I get it. Injuries happen, but it's always a next man up mentality. But at some point where the talent is really starting to play a big part when we play good teams.
Yeah, thanks, Sean. Appreciate the call. We got to keep it moving because we are pretty much right up against it here, almost out of time with about 10 minutes left in the show. But I will say to that a lot of times the Titans try to be creative. It doesn't work either. I mean, a lot of the screen passes you're seeing go for -3, -4. The toss sweeps, if you can't block, you just can't. There's only so creative you can be, right? Yeah. The one thing I will agree with, and a wrinkle I think you can start to add again, is Ryan Tannehill's mobility in his legs. I think you hope that whatever happened with the ankle, it saw him walking a little gingerly at the end of the game today. You have to hope that he can be closer to what he was in that first half when he had 3 carries for 34 yards. That, I think, is where you can get a little more creative. You got to start rolling him out more. You've got to be creative with your protections, I think, in the pass game. That, I think, then sets you up to be better in the run game where you can run downhill and just beat people off the ball.
Yeah, and because this lining up and protecting is not working.
No, it's not.
Like today, they rushed 4 and they had 5 guys in. The back stayed, all 5 linemen, so they had 6 for 4.
Yes, they did,
and it didn't work. So the mano-a-mano thing is not necessarily working into the Titans' favor. Teams are exposing some inexperience on some guys, some health on others, and just some are just flat out, I'm the better player, so to speak. But all that to say, there's ways to help that. And I think Titans have tried at times. Like you said, you've done some screen work, some things like that, and it's got to be timely like there was last week. Some play action sometimes, but sometimes that play action, again, you still have your line. They still have to hold up, be able to let that play to develop and the action develop. And then there's sprint action where you kind of hinge your line and sprint your line to kind of give that protection for you. There's different things like that, but that's more, I'm 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The ball's out or I'm throwing it away, so to speak. So are we there to the point where we are continuing to move the pocket because they can't just line up and create one?
Right.
So you have to move one. Maybe. I know Ben Jones came back today. I'm sure the communication was better. He's still coming off his injury. I'm hoping that it gets better. These guys will get better experience, but I go back to, I'm still holding on to putting the guys in positions where they have success. So the ball's getting out a lot quicker. They don't have to not doing 5-step drops and not things like that. It's quicks, it's screens, and I'm talking quick screens to the receivers, to the outside.
Snap and go.
Just get the ball out so they don't have to be rotation. Now you're putting everybody on edge, and now you can do some different things as far as vertically. Like today, they held up and gave Traylon Burke an opportunity to make a play.
They did.
Again, is that every time? Unfortunately, it's not. But there was one time where it did.
Right.
It worked out for him. So as you see, the potential is there, but they got to be more consistent with it.
It is sad, too, because you would take a healthy Treylon Burks over that catch 10 times out of 10. Because Treylon Burks probably gets you more points than just that one in that moment. You've got to really hope that he's able to come back and continue the momentum that he's had because he is a man possessed right now.
Yeah, and I think he was a big part of the game plan today.
I think
then
so,
when
too.
he went out, I think, again, they only had so many guys up and limitations showed, and then that changed everything. And then when your running game's not going, like, shoot.
You could make the argument outside of Ryan Tannehill, Treylon Burks was the one guy you could not lose on offense today.
Yep.
I would say so
because
because Derrick Henry was already taken out of the game anyway.
Yeah.
No disrespect to him, but, I mean, if Philly's going to take away the run, your option of prolonging the game plan and having a solid effort on offense was centered around Treylon Burks. It was the one guy you couldn't lose.
Yep.
And they lost him.
Yeah, that's a good point.
615-737-1045. We go rapid fire on the phone lines to finish up the show with a couple minutes left here. And Tom in the Borough is up next. Hey, Tom.
Hey, how you doing?
Good. How are you, man?
I tell you what would help this team, okay? Build them a $2.2 billion stadium, okay? Are we there?
Yep.
Okay. And then put them on eBay.
Okay. All right, Tom. I don't really understand that. I mean, there are a lot of teams that want to build stadiums because it makes the most sense for the city and the team financially moving forward. And the success on the field has nothing to do with whether you build a stadium or not.
I get what he's saying. He's saying our priorities are maybe shifted to the wrong direction as far as the city. That's what I think. But I think if you look at globally, the big picture, the city of Nashville has grown so much and across this country is more visible. It makes sense to go ahead and upgrade your stadium so you can host a Super Bowl.
Yeah, right.
That's the ultimate dream, to be able to bring millions of dollars to your economy because of the Super Bowl. That's the ultimate dream, whether your team is 12-5 or 5-12. It's about that end game is about hosting that Super Bowl, which literally brings, I'm saying millions, probably billions of dollars to your economy.
Oh, yeah. No doubt. Ken in Nashville is up next on the show. What's going on, Ken?
Yeah, I agree with almost everything I've heard everybody say, especially you all. And one thing I admire about you all is how respectfully you all speak. Y'all are not disrespectful or anything. But one is, Dr. Dyson, would you be interested in perhaps becoming an offensive coordinator for this team? Two, if you need a first down, why would you go 3-4 yards short of the first down and wait for the pass? If you see your quarterback scrambling, why don't you start going forward so that you get at least the first down and maybe more start going toward a touchdown? You know, I mean, it's sometimes it just looks like out there we don't understand football 101. Everybody have said the game of football starts with the line. We need some real linemen, some linemen that's going to go out there and knock somebody off the football.
Sure.
You know, I mean, if the running back can get 3 or 4 yards this time, 3 or 4 yards the next time, 3 or 4 yards the next time, pretty soon, you know, wide receiver or somebody going to be open. And another thing, why can't one of our wide receivers get open? Why come we can't get 20 yards, at least just 20 yards down? I know we can't, the line can't hold that long, but at least just get 20 yards down the field.
Yeah, thanks, Ken. We're running out of time here, so we have got to keep it moving. But that pretty much sums up, I think, all the frustrations we've had today.
Yeah.
No doubt. One more call to get to. Tyler in Madison finishes us off. Got to be quick here to close out the show, but want to give Tyler a chance to react. What's going on, Tyler?
Hey, how y'all doing?
Good.
How you, man?
I'm doing fine, man. Just real quick, the Titans have a lot of issues, right? But one of the most glaring ones that I've seen throughout this season, it's the roster, man. The roster is just simply not good. Specifically, the defensive backs and the offensive line. And thank you guys for taking my call.
Thank you, Tyler. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Offensive line is the issue, and Dr. Dyson, as we wrap up, I think that is going to be the one that makes the ultimate difference for this offense moving forward.
I think so too. I think again, we'll see what Downey does and how he develops this offense as you talked about with Vrabel's comments he made. What do they come up with to help their team? But ultimately, they got to be able to protect. They got to be able to move the pile and get to the second level to help your running game.
Yep.
And if that doesn't happen, it's going to be – they're going to the playoffs. We've been saying they're winning the division. I think the division is weak right now, and I feel like they're the class of the division. They're getting to the playoffs. But if we don't figure out how to move the pile, move the line, get the running game going, and get consistent in this passing game, it's going to be early exit.
The look ahead is presented by Eurofix, and want to remind you, Eurofix repairs everything European that you drive and below dealer pricing. ASE certified technicians, local companies servicing Middle Tennessee for over 2 decades. Online at Eurofix.com. And next week, the Titans head back home and head back into the division, hosting the Jacksonville Jaguars, a noon start in Nissan Stadium. Titans radio coverage is produced by Philip Noel and Brad Willis, studio producer Joe Hunkapiller, scoreboard producer Lucas Panzica, promotions director is Rich Ferris, director of sales Hunter Rice, general manager Allison Warren, operations managers are Charlie Cook and Paul Mason, the executive producer of Titans radio is Rhett Bryan. For Dr. Kevin Dyson, for Brett Batchelor, our producer, I'm Will Boling saying good night from Nashville. We talk to you next weekend. The magic number is 3 in the AFC South for the Tennessee Titans, and the Jacksonville Jaguars come to town. We'll have all the coverage for you next Sunday from Nissan Stadium.